When you think of a warrior, what comes to mind is, as far as gameplay, lore, toolkits. So Gambit, our warriors are called fighters, and you're like, why? Honestly, there was just like this period when we were looking at a lot of, or I was looking at a lot of old like pen and paper tabletop stuff, and just trying to find some of the things where it's like, would it be that big a deal to change this word back to one of like the old classic names? So we didn't do it with rogues. Rogues are not thieves; they're still rogues, but warriors are fighters. And what comes to mind as far as gameplay, lore, and toolkits? They're interesting. They're a situational. So on one hand, there's a bit of simplicity that I think is inherent to a fighter. I played warrior as my main in EQ. I was never super elite, even though I was in our server's biggest guild. I was like 10th warrior on the rotation. Like I was never going to be doing much of shit. But the thing that I found, even if I was imagining, the thing that I found fun playing my warrior, especially, you know, going into like Kunark and things like that, was I felt like properly timed aggro management, especially in situations where you could kind of taunt juggle a little bit and have aggro, and then as something's getting a little squirrely, pull aggro back onto you. Like that made me feel great. I like the idea of being able to, in our case, the way Nick has been approaching it, sounds like we're going to have even more situational abilities where we can really be a playmaker as well as a well-timed, like, harm touch or lay of hands or a bigger heal or whatever. Like there's opportunities to command a battle space a little bit more, have some situational utility that maybe flexes a little bit beyond what you might think of just traditional fighter, but doesn't homogenize the class with other classes or overstep the line into other classes' utilities. But for me, like if the one thing that we nail, or if we can nail one thing, it's really just that sense of being able to stand in the middle of shit, have those pulls come in, like own taking that damage, and then if something goes squirrely, be able to reset the battle space a bit, even in a situation where it means self-sacrifice. Like as a warrior, honestly, I didn't mind dying that much. It sucks if you got reses, it sucks less, but it really was a situation of like, it felt good to be the one that like saves somebody that's squishier. I don't know. So that's probably not the best gameplay explanation. As we're playtesting more and we're more familiar, like all of us, with how the classes are come together, then I think we'll be better at explaining some of it. Yeah, even getting scraps in the biggest guild probably made you a dominant tank in groups. Belfaster, it wasn't bad, right? And it was also nice because having the guild tag of a more well-known guild also meant that it was a little bit easier for me to get groups at times or get a port or whatever. Now, the one thing that I don't feel I had, and this is, I know, a controversial topic because some people, they don't want to have a bunch of different gear and blah, blah, blah. I'm personally, I'm not saying this is where we're in land or whatever, but I'm personally of like that, a fan of that idea of having situational weapons, having situational gear, coming off as somebody that's, a more of a weapons master and things of that nature, especially in a group environment, right? So if my efforts or if my guild's efforts or whatever have given me certain weapons or gear or items that help with additional utility or just additionally make me seem a little bit more like a badass in a group, that's pretty fun as well. Belfester said, warrior discipline, noble sacrifice, gain experience when you die. If you die in the next 3 seconds. It's like, good call. Love all the gear slots. Gives you goals in game to get best in slot items, keeps you busy. Yeah, and we've been talking from the onset about the idea of there being, comparable best in slot items that, even if it just means there's a difference in appearance, right? I think the really bad example I give, because it's not even visible in EQ, but let's assume it's visible in our game. Instead of just, flowing black silk sash, what if there's a blue one, a red one, gray one? I don't know. But roughly the same thing. Just so you're not necessarily always stacked in the one spot for the the one best in slot item, but not necessarily trying to make a bajillion variations or whatever.